Maybe you've been coming to therapy and actively mapping out your escape plan from your bizarre roommate. Or maybe I'm not really your therapist and you're just here to get my take on these Reddit roommate stories. My roommate is constantly snitching on us. TLDR, roommate is spying on our cleanliness on behalf of our landlord. Could you ever imagine having a landlord that you were this close to, that you'd be willingly going to them on a regular basis to spy on your roommates? I had one landlord in particular who would drop by, usually unannounced. Somehow we would all end up just sitting in our living room, me, my husband, and this landlord, and for what felt like hours, he would show us videos of his son playing guitar. And what kind of a response can you imagine giving your landlord in that situation? We were like, he's great, there he goes again. It was adorable. This guy was his son's biggest fan. Anyway, being the landlord's pet just seems like an escalation beyond. I've been here for about a month, and all of a sudden, our landlord sends us a photo of a few dishes left in the sink and calls us disgusting. That's kind of hilarious to me. You're getting shamed by your landlord for the dishes in the sink. We take care of it, but the question was, who snitched? Two of the people weren't home, and me and the other guy knew it wasn't us. So it had to be the guy living upstairs. Now it's a pattern. The tiniest bit of clutter gets left out in the kitchen. He takes a photo and sends it to the landlord, who blasts us in the group chat. The other funny thing about this story is imagining a landlord that wants to be that heavily involved in the lives of their tenants. Most landlords would be like, yeah, I don't know, you guys are gonna have to figure it out. I'll take my rent on the 1st of the month. Like, so many landlords will drag their feet about fixing things that actually need to be fixed in the home. Never mind like micromanaging your tenants' dishes. We don't have a dishwasher and everyone is busy with school, work, friends, etc. So in my opinion, it's completely normal for a few dishes to be standing in the sink. They're always rinsed and we do take care of them quickly. It's just not feasible to do it immediately every single time. The 4 of us who actually use this kitchen have agreed that we're all fine with the state of cleanliness. It's someone who doesn't even use it that's harassing us all. So I'm imagining that there's another kitchen unit upstairs for that other roommate to use. If not, maybe the guy upstairs doesn't use the kitchen because it's never up to his standards. But I think if your standards are set so high, you have to either be very intentional about moving in with other people with the same standards as you, or maybe live alone. But navigating those different standards of cleanliness is such a nightmare. I don't miss having roommates one bit because everybody is kind of raised differently and expects different things, and that can be really hard to compromise on. Also, this apartment is in tatters. The appliances are all 50+ years old, a bunch of things don't work right, etc. It's not exactly a paradise by itself. When the first people moved in, it was dirty and they had to convince the landlord to hire a professional cleaner. Okay, yeah, that's like the type of thing I was saying before. I feel like that just shows that the landlord is not living up to these expectations either. I wonder if it's a little bit of a like power and control thing for the landlord. Like maybe the landlord wants to control exactly how these people are living in the unit. And the best part, the guy upstairs has switched to using our kitchen trash instead of his. Conveniently, he's not on the rotation to take it out. That makes it sound like he does have another kitchen upstairs. Multiple times, he's thrown out a bunch of bulky cleaning or cooking supplies in there when it's already full, so it ends up overflowing. Then he sends a picture to our landlord and we get the blame. I don't get what his deal is, or our landlord's. What's the best way to tell them to cool off and stop monitoring us? Oh, that last part from the roommate was weird. Doesn't it remind you of like a kid who will lie to get their sibling in trouble? I have no idea really what could be going on with that roommate, and this is just a random thought, but I wonder if that was like the dynamic in his family of origin, and then when he moved out, he just like a little bit addicted to that cycle and that way of bonding. Maybe it's some kind of obsessive personality thing, but the trash part doesn't really fit into that. It also sounds like OP and their roommates have never confronted this roommate head on, and that might help clear the air as long as he doesn't, deny it. But without having that direct conversation and confirmation that the roommate is doing this, OP's whole perspective could be skewed. Frame him by leaving some mess outside his door and say it was him and message the landlord. I don't know if that's gonna work if this roommate already has some kind of alliance with the landlord. Leave the group chat unless it's a requirement of the lease. Who cares who gets blamed? Learn to just ignore or tell people if they have a problem with the sink, they are more than welcome to come clean the dishes themselves. OP says, we have to be in the group chat for actually important communications, such as repairs, plus it's just uncomfortable to feel constantly surveilled. No, you don't. That's what phone calls are for. I think that's such a good point because you can't control somebody else's behavior, but you can control how you're gonna engage and interact with it. It does seem weird to me to have to be in this group chat with your landlord. And if your landlord is using it to just like get out their frustrations and berate you guys, it doesn't sound very productive. If you feel like you can't leave that group chat, maybe you can at least like have it on silent and stop answering it. It's helpful to find ways to stop letting this little game bother you because you can't necessarily control your roommate to have him stop doing it. The landlord has no right to bother you about anything really that doesn't immediately have to do with the property. You pay rent and are entitled to privacy and to keep it how you want. At this point, it's merely the landlord overreaching, supporting some brown-nosing weirdo. If there's a way to keep him out of your kitchen, I'd create that. He doesn't need to be going into your space beyond the laundry, and if it's the type of situation where the landlord flood hasn't created a separate easement to access laundry, they're breaking the law. You can't be letting some guy into your space that sends pictures to your landlord who could possibly be a safety risk. I think it's all one unit though. Like this guy lives upstairs, but it is one living space. It sounds like he's not in a separate unit. You need to address that and also say you will no longer be responding to anything that isn't legal. At this point, you can claim that they have interfered with your peaceful enjoyment of the premises, made you feel unsafe, as well as violated your privacy. Break the lease and find another place. Yeah, and you don't have to set all of those boundaries at once. You can begin pushing back by saying, you're really interfering with my peaceful occupancy of this unit. The way that we manage our household tasks is our business. Please stop communicating with us about this. What kind of a landlord has the time? It sounds like this one is just bored. Am I the a-hole for licking my roommate's boyfriend's food? Really hard to imagine a situation where it would be reasonable to lick someone else's food, but let's hear them out. So this one is weird, but stay with me. I'm 22 female and I have a roommate, Sarah, same age. She has a boyfriend named Aiden, also same age, and he doesn't live with us, but he might as well because he is here all the time. That's already such a landmine in roommate dynamics. When people kind of start cohabitating with their partner and that partner is not part of the roommate setup, they're not paying rent, it is such a nightmare and people quickly start to get pissed off. Garrett and I had multiple experiences where we would start renting with, a group and we would all split the bills evenly, and then someone else would start dating someone and they'd slowly start living in our place. And eventually Garrett and I would be like, wait, we're sharing a room and you're sharing a room. Why are we paying twice as much? Ugh, I hate it. And if you do find yourself in a situation with roommates, there are plenty of pros too, plenty of good things that can happen, deep friendships and relationships that can be formed, but there's a lot of tension and difficult dynamics that can come up too. He reminds me of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, just stupid with the same mannerisms. Whenever people bring up Sheldon, I assume they're talking about autism. I've never seen the show, that's just what has reached me through osmosis. Whatever, I don't have to date him. One thing about him is he has this weird hang up about food. No one can touch his food after it's made, and if any cooked food is left out of the fridge for longer than 10 minutes, it's spoiled and he throws it away. He has thrown away his own food and Sarah's before, which still just makes me shake my head. Well, he would be my nemesis for that because I am obsessed with not wasting food and I have an iron stomach. A few days ago, Aiden was at our apartment again like usual. We had ordered Chinese food and I got my smelly pecan chicken with lo mein. It does smell, but I love it. This is the only thing I order from this place and it's a treat for me. I was in the shower when it arrived, so I figured Sarah would put it on the counter in the kitchen and I'd grab it once I was done drying my hair. If this is going where I think it is, I would lose my shit. I came out of my bedroom and I couldn't find it. Wasn't on the counter, wasn't in the microwave. Fridge? Nope. I walked back into the living room and asked them where my food was. Aiden looked up and told me it had gone bad and he'd gotten rid of it. He didn't want me getting sick. Are you kidding? I could probably eat that pecan chicken lo mein the next morning and still be completely fine. Come on, Aiden. I looked in the trash can. Yep, my upended open takeout box was in the trash. He had thrown away my food. I walked back into the living room and stuck my entire hand into his meal, then licked the egg rolls he had ordered. I said we were even and ordered a replacement meal for myself while he freaked out and Sarah yelled at me. I am actually still pissed about the food, and Sarah has been begging me to apologize to him because he doesn't feel welcome in our apartment. So random internet peeps, am I the a-hole for licking his food? You're not an a-hole for having a reaction. Licking someone's food is a really hard sell. Like, why didn't you just take the egg roll and bite into it? Because it sounds like you just fully wasted that meal too, which kind of sucks. Oh yeah, but she said she didn't like anything else from this place. I feel like it would have been less cinematic but more logical to just like demand that he buy you a replacement meal. But I would have been really upset in this situation. I don't know how well I would have controlled my actions either. Not the a-hole. I think that was the best clapback I've ever seen, lol. I was thinking throw his food out too, but spoiling it was even better. Tell Sarah you'll apologize to him when he apologizes for throwing out your food without checking with you first. He's a guest in your home. He shouldn't be touching anyone's food but his own. And then I'd say, and I don't really care if he feels welcome or not, he's over here way too much anyway, and for someone who doesn't pay rent here, he has an entitled, up attitude about the food he didn't pay for. Sarah needs to stop worrying about Aiden's feelings and set him straight. If your food had already gone bad so he threw it away, why was he eating food that came at the same time? Shouldn't he have to throw his away if he doesn't eat it fast enough? If he really believes food turns bad that fast, he should be setting a timer and throwing his half-eaten dinner away because it will have gone bad while he was eating it. Just because he's a psycho doesn't mean he gets to inflict his issues on you. I was thinking that too, like when he was eating the egg roll, I was like, well, I guess the egg roll is fine somehow. Such an unusual complex to have. I wonder if this guy like got the really bad squirts one time and he's done taking chances forever. Am I the a-hole for ghosting my roommates and locking them out until they finally get their own keys? I, 28 female, rent a house with my friend and her sister. Here's the situation. My friend's boyfriend basically lives with us rent-free. He doesn't contribute shit, eats my food, and has this irritating habit of leaving the spare key in the back door. Me and my friend have keys. The sister and the boyfriend, they refuse to get copies made. Instead, they use a spare key we keep on the windowsill for emergencies. The problem is, when you leave that key in the lock on the inside, it blocks anyone else from putting their key in on the outside. I've come home from 12-hour shifts just wanting a shower, only to be locked out of my own house because this bum is inside with the key in the door. On top of that, our neighbors lock the main gate at night. Since the sister and the boyfriend don't have keys, they call me like I'm their personal doorman to go down and let them in. I even lent the sister my keys for a week so she could go to the hardware store. She didn't do it, and then she didn't even pick up her phone when I got locked out of the yard later that day. Last week, I finally had it. I got home first and saw the key was in the door again. I had to walk all the way around to the front door, which is a huge inconvenience. I realized I was the only one home, so I just locked up and went to bed. The boyfriend started blowing up my phone. I just ignored it and went to sleep. It was raining, and he eventually had to go back to his own house a few miles away. Surprise, surprise, ever since that night, the spare key is always back on the windowsill where it belongs. Then today, the same thing happened with the sister. I knew she'd be calling me to open the gate, so I just left my phone in my room and ignored it. An hour later, I check, and yep, missed calls. I eventually let her in, and she looked miserable, like she'd been out there for an hour in the cold. She went straight to her room, sounding all sad. Honestly, I'm mildly amused. I'm tired of being inconvenienced by people who are too lazy to spend $5 on a key. I plan on ghosting their calls for the gate until they actually show me a physical key in their hand. Am I the a-hole for making them sit outside? This whole way of dealing with it is very passive aggressive. It would be better if you just like let them know that you were going to be doing this from now on. OP would be well within their right to say, this is driving me crazy. I'm not going to drop everything and come get you every time anymore. And if you want to have that immediate access to our home, you need to get your keys made. Why are you letting people who don't pay rent into your home at all? Tell your roommate no more. When she wants to have visitors, she needs to be home to let them in. The boyfriend doesn't need a key at all, and you shouldn't have a spare key out where people can access it anyway. The sister, who I guess does pay rent, can get her own key made and can make it from her sister's key, not yours. I would tell your roommate clearly, no more will I be opening doors for people and your boyfriend needs to stop eating my food, period. That's a good point. I didn't even really clock that about the boyfriend. He doesn't technically live there. Why is he there all the time without the roommate? Not the a-hole, but why would you want a freeloader who eats your food having a key to your place? OP said, honestly, at this point, I'm just compromising. He's in her life and so in mine. And I'm worried that by reporting him or pushing back, I would antagonize my housemate, who is also a friend and despite her taste in men is actually a pretty real one. Grow a damn backbone. The only thing I learned from teaching, you train people how to treat you. So stop it. Don't be a doormat so someone will like you. That is very real, and I find myself saying that in sessions a lot. You teach people how to treat you by what you will and will not put up with. This is one of those adulting moments none of us like to deal with, but have to if you want to keep your sanity and the friendship. So put your big girl pants on and talk to your roommate. You are getting taken advantage of. Stop it. Here's the truth. Your friend. She's an asshole who's using you and expecting you to let her and her guests walk all over you because of friendship. She doesn't care that they're taking money from your pockets by eating your food and running up the utility bills. Her boyfriend and sister basically living there is a huge lease violation and you could be evicted because of it. I'm pretty sure the sister does fully live there and is on the lease. Don't compromise. They need to get the F out now. Don't offer to stay quiet if they pay their food, living expenses, etc. Call your landlord ASAP and report your roommate for putting your tenancy in jeopardy. Do you understand how hard it's going to be for you to rent another apartment if you get evicted from this one? Do you want your landlord to give you a terrible reference when you move out that basically has the same effect of you getting turned down every time? Stop being a doormat. No compromises, no discussions. Call your landlord now. Take charge of your life and protect your future self from their bullshit. While it does sound like OP is kind of being taken advantage of, that's not something people are always like conscious or aware of themselves doing. And like we said earlier, you teach people how to treat you. So you need to set out firm boundaries, clear expectations that you will not tolerate some of this stuff. But it doesn't mean you need to cut this friend off forever or else you'll never get another place to live. That's just Reddit extremism, TM. Oh, there's an update to this one. Update. I finally confronted my roommates, and it went about as well as you'd expect. Edit, I want to preface this by saying, wow, this started as a key issue and ended up revealing that I've been allowing a lot of disrespect. What you guys said in the last post was low-key mean, but ultimately fair. I needed the reality check. I did what you told me to do and called a meeting in a state of resigned frustration. This came after my stuff was taken from the fridge again, and they continued to call me to open the gate despite everything I've done to discourage it. They just sat there, unresponsive as ever. One roommate literally had her eyes closed. When I asked her to focus and open her eyes, she took a shot at my hybrid job. She said, some of us actually have work in the morning, unlike you who probably didn't even go to work today. I'll just leave that there to demonstrate the kind of people I'm dealing with. I ran through all of the issues you all raised, citing specific incidents and explaining that while I don't want an uncomfortable living environment, these things are making me miserable. The resolution was unsatisfying, to say the least. One friend outright refused to acknowledge that her boyfriend rummages through our fridge, claiming he never takes anything unless she gives it to him. Regarding the missing food, they basically brushed it off as a misunderstanding because items are bought in bulk. The conclusion was unclear, and for a few days we stopped speaking face to face entirely. They eventually retaliated by putting stickers on everything they own in the fridge. Honestly, if that's what they need to do, I'm not even mad, but they are still eating my food anyway. A few days later, they texted asking where I got my keys made. It seems no progress has been made on them actually getting copies, but they finally got the hint and have stopped calling me to open the gate for them. It's been incredibly passive-aggressive since. We hardly speak, and I actively avoid the sister because she is incredibly rude. I agree with what you guys said. If I can't express my needs without fearing their reaction, we just aren't compatible. A true friend wouldn't make me feel this way. The final move. I bought myself a mini fridge to exclude myself from their shenanigans entirely. I'm also actively looking for a new place, though it's tough to find a good apartment in my price range that doesn't require roommates and is close enough to work for my in-office days. Sorry it's a bit anticlimactic, but I'm choosing peace over drama while I plan my exit. I think this is a great update. It sounds like OP handled everything very maturely. It's disappointing that they weren't able to kind of be more vulnerable and really communicate during that roommate meeting, but now she has the information she needs to make future plans. And I think that line is so key. If I can't express my needs without fearing their reaction, we just aren't compatible. And that doesn't mean that every conflict is going to be without friction. Sometimes people have like a knee-jerk reaction and then they're able to communicate and repair later. Like if the roommate and the sister were able to come back the next day or the day after that and say something like, that didn't feel good to hear, but after thinking about it for a little bit, I've realized you're totally right and that was disrespectful to you and I'm sorry. They might have been able to repair and actually like strengthen their friendship by having gone through that, but it doesn't sound like that's what's gonna happen. This is also making me think of why people say that you shouldn't move in with your friends. No matter how close you are with someone or how deep your friendship is, moving in together is bound to bring up new forms of tension that just might take a toll on the friendship. Yikes. Good luck on a speedy exit. And the mini fridge is a good idea. Probably need a lock for your room though, because they sound like they'd just raid the mini fridge if the free stuff they like isn't in the main one anymore. They sound exhausting. Some mini fridges have locks, but I hope OP gets lock boxes for their snacks too. Almost any time a situation with roommates has devolved, a lock on your bedroom door is a really good idea. I need to hear other people's opinions on my roommate's behavior. I bought a flat a few months ago. I'm renting a room to my best friend of like 15 years. We had often talked about moving out of home and living together for a bit. Now we live together and there are several things bothering me. I have raised these issues with her previously. She either forgets what I say or was never listening in the first place. What did I just say? Be careful moving in with your friends. The issues are, first, what I would consider abuse of the electricity and heating. As we all know, energy prices are insane. The bill goes to me and I do my best to keep it down. I never leave things on, etc. I've come home before to the electric heater being left on while she was out of the house. She has left her electric blanket on her bed before and left the house. Fire hazard. I've walked into the kitchen and seen the oven be left on before. Okay, wasting electricity is already frustrating, but a lot of these are downright dangerous. She constantly leaves lights on. I walked into the kitchen the other day and all the lights were on. It was literally 2 p.m. and the sun was shining directly into the room. Why are they on in the first place? The other day I saw her straighteners were on and I asked her if she was done with them, and she said she was gonna straighten her hair again in a minute. Okay, even if you're gonna do that in 5 minutes, maybe turn them off in the meantime. That's a major fire hazard if it gets forgotten, and even if it doesn't, why are we leaving them on when we aren't using them? We are, aka I am, being charged for all of the power we use. Hello? Okay, well I get being really worried about the straightener in the context of this roommate, but a lot of people turn on hair straighteners or curlers before they use them so that they can let them heat up first. But that's true, you can't risk forgetting about it, and it sounds like this roommate does that a lot. She has the heat on in her room and her electric blanket at the same time, to the point where it's a sauna in there. I refrain from using any heaters at all now because the bill is so high and I'm compensating for the fact that she is contributing largely to that. I don't want or expect her to be cold, but it's over the top, especially as it's not even that cold anymore. I want to know why OP's the only one paying the electric bill. That seems like it's something that really needs to be split at this point. It might not fix all these behaviors, but it should at least help if the roommate's like feeling the pain of that a little bit too. Next, she keeps doing her washing and drying her clothes inside the flat with no window open or no ventilation whatsoever. I've told her 4 times, we cannot do that. The flat will get damp and therefore moldy. Each time it happens, I think, damn, I really have to say again not to do this. And it's awkward for me because I don't want to nag or be anal about something, but me. I don't want my flat to get damp. Just open a fucking window or dry it as I've instructed you to do. The clothes also get left on the clothes horse for days, and I've had to take it down on multiple occasions since I don't want someone else's laundry clogging up my lounge. The last time it happened, I saw the clothes drying inside and I said, we can't do this. And she said, Oh, as if she'd never heard me say it before. Next, I have a bar cart of alcohol, which is all mine in the kitchen, and I'm happy to share it. The last 2 times we drank together, I gave her 2 large bottles of flavored vodka to have. I've said she can have one of the bottles of wine there too. But when she has friends around and I'm not there, she seems to help herself to the Fireball and tequila. She and her friend, who I did not know, had a shot of my tequila once and she told me afterwards. This didn't bother me, by the way. But the most recent time I saw photos of her and a couple of other people we know pre-drinking before going out, and they were holding my Fireball in the photo, and I just looked at the tequila to see what was left, and it's basically empty now. So it's like, listen, I'm more than happy to share, but there's going to come a time when I want something to drink, and if I go to my bar cart and the fucking bottle is empty, then I'm gonna be pissed. She didn't even ask or say anything about it. Can you not just prompt her to buy some more tequila and Fireball? I think if you have a bar cart out in the open and there's been a precedent of you guys sharing, she could easily think that was kind of the norm. Why not just ask her if she can get another bottle before you guys run out? But I feel like this is a great demonstration of the way that little things will start to add up and get under your skin when you live with somebody, especially someone that you were friends with first that you don't want to have conflict with. Next, I was looking for my charger for my iPad, which I kept in the lounge, and I knew she sometimes used it when she was there. I couldn't find it one day and I asked her where it was, and it was in her car. Why are you taking my charger to your car? There are other little things that bother me, but they aren't worth mentioning. I know there will always be frustrating things when it comes to living with other people, but these are the worst things. I'm constantly stressed about the electric because she is just so careless with it. She knows I'm stressed and that it's expensive, and she still just leaves it on. She's not malicious or doing it on purpose, but she is genuinely just not aware. I've tried to address this stuff before, but it goes over her head and it's extremely frustrating. I might seem anal, but when the bill goes to you and you see constant examples of waste and carelessness, it bothers you. Also, I bought this flat and I care about it, and I don't want it to get damp because somebody repeatedly tries to dry their clothes after being told several times that we can't do that. Am I too uptight, or would this frustrate you too? I think the electric and the fire hazard stuff is like the biggest red flag here. It seems like it would be such an easy fix to just begin at least splitting the bill down the middle, and maybe if it really continues, like talking about her paying 2/3 of it or something like that. The dryer thing I don't fully get. Like, if it's installed there, shouldn't it be usable? And if it is really releasing too much moisture inside, can you just get a dehumidifier or something? So I think it sounds like a mix here of things that would bother anybody and smaller things that OP has had a chance to build up a lot of frustration about. When I shared liquor, I would keep my valuable liquor in my room and pull it out when I wanted to. This is what my roommates did with theirs as well. What was on the cart was usually cheap liquor that we'd buy for an event and leave out for anyone to have when there was company. As for the energy, please tell me you are sharing the bill on that. And regardless of whether you are or aren't, given what you've described, there should be conversations on whether the split is fair. If you have any prior bills from before they moved in, maybe you could use that as a baseline of your typical usage and go 33 to 66%, especially if they don't have any interest in changing their behaviors. Yeah, I agree. And that's a great idea for finding that baseline and, you know, maybe having a little bit of justification for paying less of the electric bill, because it sounds like that is a big part of the growing resentment. The safety concerns are valid, as fire is not to be trifled with. The oven and electrical blanket are both fire hazards, and the space heater and the straightener. Simply tell her that if she continues to leave the flat with them on, she will have to leave. Same with the laundry. I know you love your friend and do not want to create waves, but you must look after your home as it is a monetary investment. As for your alcohol, I would do as the previous poster suggested and keep what you don't want to share in your room. I personally don't think you should have to keep your booze in your house locked up in your room when you have a perfectly good bar cart. I would just tell your roommate what's okay to share and what's off limits. If she respects you, she'll listen. As far as bills go, I don't know why you're not splitting them half and half. I bet she'd start conserving power and gas if she had to pay for it. Can't comment on the laundry stuff as we don't typically use dryers in Australia, but that sounds annoying. A moldy house sucks. If you have a civil chat about what's been grinding your gears and she keeps doing it, she's not the roommate for you. You learn quickly sometimes that a great friend does not always equal a compatible roommate. Yeah, and if maybe she's not responding to OP's communication because she doesn't really agree with it, but she doesn't want to like get into conflict, that could be a reason that she seems to just be ignoring what OP's saying about the laundry. But if that is what the roommate's feeling, she should communicate that, not just leave OP wondering why she's being ignored. My roommate is trying beginning to make me go insane. A year ago, my 30 female house had someone leave before the lease was up, but another roommate, 32 female, had a sister, 36 female, who needed a place. That roommate was perfectly pleasant and respectful, so the rest of us agreed it was a good solution. So the sister moved in and they started living in the lower level of the house together. The first month or so was fine. Then she began paying bills to me late, sometimes a couple months behind. I cover the utilities bill and I don't have the finances to pay more than my own portion of the bill. She got plenty of reminders and just never responded. I got her sister, the original roommate, to go talk to her, and that helped a few times. Right before that lease ended and another started, we were all planning to sign for another year, but about a month before doing so, the landlord got in touch with me saying that the sister had not been paying rent on time and in fact owed for that month, and therefore the landlord wasn't comfortable with her on the new lease. I told the roommate what happened and she was deeply apologetic, has been since things got bad, and said that she agrees we should look for someone to take her sister's place. So I posted the room online. The sister found out, sent an angry text, and paid the landlord the late rent. And apparently that's all he needed to say he no longer cared about our living situation and it was up to us. I sent a text apologizing to the sister and said we can always communicate if bills may be late and that I just need to know what to expect. She said that sounded good. There are reasons that people struggle financially sometimes. The economy is not great. It's possible for someone to get behind on their bills. The most important thing in a situation like that is to communicate, but sometimes that can be hard for people if they're feeling a lot of shame or frustration or avoidance about it. But it sounds like OP handled that pretty well. I probably would have communicated with her before putting the room up for rent, but that text just asking for communication is great. Well, over 6 months later, things have been consistently uncomfortable and disrespectful with the sister in the house. She doesn't pay Wi-Fi, but would always spend her evenings watching my TV in the downstairs living area. Combined with her bad attitude, lack of contribution to the household, the financial struggles I've been in because of her paying late, I took my TV and the love seat I also owned to the living space upstairs so I could use them. I gave due notice of this and even said people were still welcome to use the TV. She immediately reacted, taking the TV remote with her to her room when I came to get the TV and lying about it. This was in October 2025 and I still haven't seen it. Oh my gosh. A few months later, she started staking her claim in the kitchen. If dishes and food were left on the counters, even just one space overnight, she would pile every single thing on the dining room table, even taking things from the kitchen sink, so she could make breakfast using my tea kettle and my frying pan. I sent a message in the group chat, kindly asking that if things get moved, they be moved to the sink. She said that it would just be easier for everyone if the dishes were done right away. Nobody but her was that on top of doing the dishes, and she was the only one who cared. But I tried to be better about leaving a mess on the counter and at least putting things in the sink if the dishwasher was full or clean. I'm autistic and I struggle with executive dysfunction, so that is often all I can manage at the end of the day. So instead of putting them on the dining table, she began taking them all out of the sink and putting the wet, dirty dishes right on the counter beside the sink. Any amount of C-ish, even just a single spoon, would be taken from the sink. I always put them back in when she wasn't there, and when I had the time and energy, I took care of my own dishes, but the sink pile always included dishes that weren't my own, and she would take them out either way. One day, a couple weeks ago, I'm in the kitchen getting ready for work, and she's in there making eggs in my frying pan as she does every day, clattering and slamming cabinets no matter what time it is, and I put the dishes she moved back into the sink. She takes them out and starts to leave the kitchen. I put them back in the sink, making sure she can hear them. Oh my gosh, it is so stressful to be in a passive-aggressive war with someone. I'm getting secondhand stress reading this. She will also loudly complain about us if we do something like start a load of laundry at 10 a.m., even though she was able to shower. She will slam and stomp and bully, and every day I hide in my room from her. Knowing she is beyond communicating with me and only wants to argue and make things my fault, I had been talking with the landlord about how the rest of us, her sister included, want the landlord to have her move out. After months of dragging his feet, although making it seem like he understood things were bad, he finally threw his hands up and said there was legally nothing he can do, and that he's tired of me asking him for help about it, and basically to shut up and figure it out myself. Yeah, I don't know what would be appropriate recourse to get her to not live with you guys, but it makes sense to me that the landlord can't legally force her out. Well, knowing I'm stuck like this, and so is she, I'm just so tired of trying to be civil. I hate feeling like I'm becoming a horrible person because of the way it feels to live with her. A couple days ago, I took my frying pan out of the kitchen after she had used it and not cleaned it, and I hid it. Maybe petty, but there are plenty of other pans for her to use, and she can't be rude to me and use my stuff without asking. I feel like I might go actually crazy. I don't know what to do. I'm considering filing a police report for the stolen items, but she is very vindictive, as you can see, and isn't above being unkind to her own sister either. I don't know how far she will go, if she will go into my room and take things, hurt my animals, or hurt me. She's almost 40 and doing all of these things just because I asked for bills to be on time and for a little bit of grace with cleaning the dishes. Is there anything I can do other than keep feeding into her pettiness or seethe to myself and complain to my family about her? I could move out early, but I don't have enough money to live alone, and I don't want to force someone else to take my place and be her next victim. It sounds like OP should definitely be looking to move out because she just signed the lease and might be breaking the lease. She might kind of have to find somebody to take her place to be in good standing. You never know if her dynamic with somebody else will be different. Like maybe your place gets filled by somebody who is extremely confrontational and will be able to put her in her place. She doesn't know, so I don't think OP should let that be a barrier to her taking care of herself and moving out. Maybe she can talk to her other roommate, see if that roommate wants to move with her, and then they can both let this sister deal with the consequences of her own actions and possibly pit herself against two strangers where she doesn't already have a power dynamic. Suggestions. 1. Have a group meeting with you and both sisters. Tell the bad sister that she has to attend this meeting, or you and good sister will break the lease and find a new place, just the two of you. At this meeting, try to be civil to one another. Make some rules and abide by them. Maybe run the dishwasher every night so it's not too full, forcing you all to pile dirty dishes in the sink. 2. You and good sister may have to break the lease and go live somewhere else to get away from the bad sister. By the way, I keep putting the good and bad in bunny ears because I'm a little uncomfortable with just labeling people as bad, even when they have bad behavior. Tell this plan to your landlord. Maybe he will evict the bad sister rather than lose his two good tenants. 3. If you are still stuck, I would give back whatever energy the bad sister is putting out. Take all of your own dishes and other stuff and hide them in your room. Install a separate lock for your room so bad sister has to break in to take or use your stuff. File a police report when this inevitably happens. If bad sister threatens your pets or stuff or yells at you, report her to the police for DV. If she plays the TV or music too loud, call the police for a noise complaint. As long as you keep your tactics legal, you are on the right side. The landlord may eventually get tired of police visits and evict the bad sister, or he may evict all of you. Then you and the good sister can go find a new apartment without the bad sister. Why are you letting her use any of your stuff? OP said they were in communal places and she just started to. And with any kind of normal roommate, I'm happy to let them use things if they will take care of them and be kind. Yeah, like I think typically most people would be okay with a roommate using the TV that's in the living room, but she isn't, hence taking the TV back upstairs and taking the frying pan the other day. She stole the remote and pan. I'm scared to go into her room because what will stop her from taking from mine? I feel like given that OP has already tried to communicate a few times, has tried to set some boundaries, and the sister responds with passive aggressiveness, she's got to just look for a way out of this living situation. Thank you so much for watching today. It really does mean a lot. Please let me know what you want to see next. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.